Hey guys, Alpha Ralts here from Gang of Ralts, and today, welcome to episode 2 of our deck profiling to Worlds. Now, we're going to do 3 deck profiles for the main decks, and then one video just talking about every other deck as a whole that you might find. But these are the 3 main decks that you should know about, and that's why they're going to get an entire deck profile, and at the end a little strategy talk on how to beat them. So today we are going to be profiling Trevenant Break. This is the second most popular deck and the almost direct Night March counter of the format. So let's jump right in. So we're going to start off with 3 Trevenant Break. He is your main attacker, and can you please focus so I can read Silent Fear? Which has 3 damage put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. Now this does is that 1 hits Joltix and 2 hits Pumpkin Boost. And it puts your opponent on a timer. Puts your opponent on a clock to do something fast. Because they got about 6 turns to live before their entire field should be wiped out. And if they can't kill you by then, well, yeah, they die. Either way, this deck, there's never an easy game like with Night March where you just kind of get your Night Marchers and then boom, boom, you don't really have to think too much. This game, because of the way you kill your opponent, which is literally just a slow, painful death. So you always have to be thinking on how to stop your opponent from attacking. Now, at 160 HP, it's not easy to kill this thing either. Especially under item lock. So, that's like the only easy thing you really get. But either way, every win, you're going to have to fight for it. So if you're up for that, it's kind of like Yveltal, where it has auto wins though, and auto losses. But you have to fight every match. Speaking of fighting, so we got 4 of the Forest Cursed Trevenant. Now what this does is, as long as it's your active Pokemon, your opponent can play any item cards from his or her hand. And so Trevenant is going to item lock your opponent. You can't Tree Slam, which is for 2 energies and a for 1 Psychic and 2 colorless. Does 60 damage and 20 to 2 bench Pokemon, but generally you're going to use Silent Fear on the break. Next up we got 4 Phantump. This, for once, the Phantump you use is actually can change it. You want to use this one from Breakpoint, but it's not focusing. It says it is, but it's really not. Thank you! So what it does is that it's Ascension attack for a colorless energy, but if you have a Dimension value in play, remember that's for free. Search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon. This counts as evolving your Pokemon. Shuffle and put it on. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So you're essentially just gonna. So it makes getting a fast Trevenant out so much easier. And that's what makes the deck really fast, really consistent, and really, really powerful. Next up, we got 3 Shamans for setup. Some people run Absol. I prefer not to, because I tested with Absol. It doesn't do anything really, in my opinion. I mean, you're gonna have your games, but it's pretty rare to find it. And you can fit one in if you want, but that would have to be like 2 Shaman. And that's it for your Pokemon. Super straightforward, super consistent. That's all you need. Next up, we got 3 Professor Sycamore. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Very consistent, and every deck runs at least 2 of them. Next up, we got 3 Wallies. Now what Wally does is it allows you, it's Nevosoda, right? Which lets you search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from one of your Pokemon in play, evolve it. Right? But what Wally does is it lets you do it on the first turn of the game, or the turn you put it down. Which lets you get Trevenants before your opponent even gets to draw a card. And that's what puts Trevenant over the top as a great deck. This Wally card, it's not necessary, but it's very good, and that's why you run 3. You also run 3N. As I explained in Night March, it's super good in early game, super disruptive late game, just as Trevenant needs to be disruptive. So, by the way, this is the version that counters Night March directly, and doesn't have like hammers, which counters dark and water box decks better. This one's just the Night March Bursting Balloon version. So we got one Lysander. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with his or her active Pokemon. Now Lysander, you can stall with Lysander. Lysander's not meant so you can take KOs. Lysander's in here so that you can stall. Lysandering a Hoopa, Hydreigon, or something like that. And stalling while you Silent Fear your opponent's bored to death is really, actually, trust me, it's really annoying. Really good though. Next up, we got one AZ. Just lets you pick up a Pokemon and discard everything attached to it. It's just really good for healing that 160 HP hard to kill Trevenants. And since everything that you should have on is like a bursting balloon that's going to get discarded, or maybe a weakness policy if you're facing a dark deck, or just and one psychic energy, not too concerned about the discarding. Now we got one delinquent, discard a stadium card in play, and your opponent has to discard 3 cards from his or her hand. Now this is what makes the deck even more disruptive. Because what you can do is make your opponent discard cards from their hand that they might not want to, and it can really affect them late game. Helps for milling them and everything. Sorry, I just turned out the light. Next up, we got one Xerosic, which lets us choose a Pokemon tool card attached to one of our opponents. Attached to any Pokemon or special energy and discard it. Now, we're learning that every deck needs to run Xerosic, and I can get behind that unless you're Night March. Every deck needs to run at least one of these 3 cards. Xerosic, AZ, and Hexmaniac. Those are the 3 tech supporters. And generally, some decks even fit all 3, and it's just kind of... But those decks are generally your average EX decks, like Waterbox, Dark-Eye Giratina, and decks like that. So yeah, that's it for your supporters. It's a very disruptive, very consistent line, in my opinion, and what's done well in testing. So let's move on. Next up, we got 4 VS Seeker. As you can tell, these are not proxy VS Seekers because, honestly, I don't have a deck made since I'm not playing in this format anymore. Yay! I'm only going to start playing again once the rotation happens. So I'm not playing for Worlds. It's going to let me make these decks with less proxies. Because I still have the proxy decks, and I'm really sad about that. But next up, we got 4 Bursting Balloons. Now, this card is what makes the deck almost an auto win against Night March. Bursting Balloon does 6 damage counters, so OHKOs. And any Night March deck. If they attack with Night March, and they don't have a Fighting Fury button. Sorry, I just kind of zoned out there. So it kills any Night Marcher, which is really what lets you take that extra prize, deal the damage, and just makes everything easier. Next up, we got 3 Trainer's Mails. Searching up the top 3-4 cards of your deck. Choose a trainer you find there, except for Trainer's Mail. Super good, super consistent. Every deck runs at least 3 of them, in my opinion. Even Stage 2 decks at this point, Trainer's Mail is just too good of a card. Next up, we got 3 Ultra Balls. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Then search your deck for a Pokemon. Any Pokemon. Reveal it and put it into your hand. Now, why 3 Ultra Balls and not 4 Ultra Balls? Of course, they're also running 2 Level Balls, which is going to search out your Phantoms, while your Ultra Balls are going to be searching out your Trevenants, your Breaks, and your Shamans. Yes, you can Ultra Ball for a Phantom, but it's not ideal. 2 Red Card. This is going to help with Disruption. Red Card plus Delinquent's pretty good. So, Red Card's good in the deck. Just Disruptive card that helps slow your opponent down. Next up, we got 2 Headringer. I think this should go down to 1, and maybe you add in the Absol, but I actually just realized that, so there's 2 Headringer in the deck for now. Slows down those EX Pokemon, so see a better EX matchup in general. Got 1 Super Rod. This will recover your Trevenants, giving you essentially 5 Trevenants to go through before they win. And I'm not sure if anyone can go through 5 trevenants before losing. So we got 1 weakness policy, and this is just a tech for the dark matchup. I mean, it's already not a loss, but trust me, I have played dark and I have almost lost to trevenants before. The only reason I won is because I had a Hex Maniac at the right time. That's the only reason I won. I'm not kidding. So, by the way, that's how you beat trevenant. You just have to like Hex Maniac / Lysander at the right time. You have a bunch of items and a VS Seeker in your hand, so you can do it whenever you need it again. And then as trevenant's item lock becomes effectively useless, and they can't do anything. Next up, we got 3 Dimension Valleys. Each Psychic Pokemon's attacks. That's actually 4 Dimension Valleys. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, I failed kindergarten. Just don't like to talk about that. So each Psychic Pokemon's attacks, both yours and your opponent's, cost 1 colorless energy less. So this allows your Trevenant Breaks to attack for 1 energy, your Trevenants to Tree Slam for only 2, and everything else is better in the world. So we play 4 of these. It's just your stadium. And next up, we got ourselves 7 Psychic Energy. Just plenty of energies. It's a Silent Fear, Tree Slam with, and yeah. It's just the right amount you've needed. I've never really had a problem with energy while playing this deck. And so, just kind of taught me that 7 is the proper amount. Now, the deck aim. Now, let's talk strategy quickly. The deck aims to item lock your opponent and disrupt them while you slowly Silent Fear them to death. It's essentially death by 1,000 cuts, or like a slowly activating poison. And so a way you can combat this, like I said, is Lysander Hex Maniac while you have a VS Seeker in your hand. Play a bunch of items, making the item lock effectively useless. Now you take away the item lock, and this deck is merely a fun deck at best. It's a disruptive deck that just kind of slowly kills your opponent through like poison and stuff, and that's just not poison, but like Silent Fears, and it's just not good, right? So all you have to do is figure out a way to take away the item lock, aka Hex Maniac / Lysander, while you have a VS Seeker in your hand, which is... So, my thing to you, from experience, I have learned that playing conservatively, you have to go explosive on your first turn to get item cards out of to get some items out of your deck. And just to kind of get a good setup. But past that, play conservatively. Only Hex Maniac / Lysander if you have a VS Seeker in your hand, and if you absolutely have to. Or, not even, just if you have a VS Seeker in your hand, I guess. But make sure you have a lot of items in your hand, because you want those to be the powerful turns that define the game. And if you can do that, you have a very good chance at beating this Trevenant deck. So, good luck at Worlds, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.